All right. Well, top of the order today is the SEC has declared that meme coins are not securities, but we're still going to police some fraud. But anyways, let's give a little round of applause to the SEC for finally, after 4 years of us saying, but Kyle, if only they could say what all of us think, it might just make it a little bit easier for people that participate in this market to both issue and buy
Yeah.
stuff, tokens, without being confused about how the law applies. But here we go. Applaud the SEC's crypto task force, the SEC's division of corporation finance, which issued a staff statement. This is on last Thursday, February 27th, stating that meme coins are akin to collectibles. They do not involve the offer of sale of securities under the security laws and do not require registration with the SEC. So, what do you think, Kyle? Did the SEC get it right?
Yes, the SEC absolutely got it right. The crypto task force, headed by our good friend Commissioner Hester Peirce, she heads the crypto task force. She clearly had a hand in this because this is codifying a lot of the things that she has been saying all along. This statement doesn't really, I don't want to say it changes things. It doesn't really move the needle because the SEC had been operating like this for really the past couple months, and it was obvious that this is what the guidance was going to be. But the fact that they actually put this down in writing and just told the world that this is how we're going to be policing or not policing these things is fantastic, and it's definitely a step in the right direction, in a series of steps in the right direction that we've been experiencing and that we're going to continue to talk about on the show. Do you think that well, let me back up. What do you think is the next step for them? Because we're going to talk in a minute about the other things they've been doing. But now that they've said this about meme coins, what comes next? Is it actual legislation about how to do these things legally, or is it just go ahead, launch your meme coin, just don't defraud anybody?
Well, I mean, I think that's what this is, right? I mean, so it's you got to be a little careful, right? Because this is not a judicial opinion. This is not an opinion of the full SEC commission, right? It's just
It's not
the
law.
it's
Yeah.
not law. It's regulatory guidance, which may or not be correct and is not really binding in any real respect. So, it, although I would say if you're a market participant that's now relying on this and you're saying, well, this is what the SEC has said that meme coins are not securities, and the article says, here's what we define as a meme coin. This kind of meme coin is not a security, so you have to fit within those boundaries to even rely on whatever it's worth. But yeah, I mean, I think that it's a great starting point. Now the SEC is now convening roundtables and inviting participants to come in and talk about different categories of tokens and whether they should or should not be regulated by the SEC and how so. So I think the idea is like this is something that's in the news. That's low hanging fruit. We can just stand up and say that's not a security. That's easy for us to do. Now let's start diving into the issues of the ones which are perhaps a bit more complicated, and go from there. So I think that's great. I think that's exactly the right approach. That's how you regulate, right?
It's definitely nice to see the regulatory agency accepting these people. And we've talked about this a couple times. We talked about it with Commissioner Peirce, and the idea that if you're unsure of how to do this, you should be able to approach the SEC and say, hey, tell me what to do here. The fact that they're opening their doors, the fact that they're giving this guidance, it's just, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but it's another just correct move in a series of correct moves that they're finally making. Operation Choke Point is a thing of the past. Now we have a warmer, friendlier neighborhood SEC that is welcoming innovation and welcoming change and fostering these kinds of businesses. So obviously there's still a lot of riffraff out there. We see it all the time. There's still people who are, they are committing fraud. Let's call it what it is. And there's rug pulls out there. But the fact that you can now in good faith issue a meme coin and not have Sauron's eye gaze upon you, I think is a wonderful thing.
Nice callback to Lord of the Rings. I love it.
It all comes together.